Hi, I'm now joined on the seat by Sasiki from Yumi. So Sasiki, please could you tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, what Yumi stands for, and about what your group does in York?
Yeah, Yumi stands for York Unifying Multicultural Initiative, and I set it up about 5 years ago. So it's a local voluntary network, now about 450 people.
That's impressive.
And we work with people, particularly from black and minority ethnic groups, on intercultural events, projects and activities.
That's great, and I understand it was actually you who set the group up originally.
Yeah.
What motivated you to do that?
Well, York is a kind of surprise place in a way, in that a lot of people think of it as being very white, very middle class, quite rich, very good for tourists, and very, very monocultural. And very few people would think of it as being a place where there's a lot of ethnic diversity. Joseph Rowntree Foundation have just done a big survey on York's ethnic diversity, and did you know there are 92 ethnic groups in York, people from 92 different ethnic backgrounds, and over 78 languages spoken. Now this survey came out about 3 weeks ago, so it's the latest update on the figures, and my sense of it is that York is unusual partly because of this lack of visibility of a lot of these groups, but also that if there are that number, there's a very broad range, but relatively few people from any one ethnic group. So the issue arises of isolation, vulnerability, feeling that lack of belonging. And so I set up Yumi as a unifying thing, as an intercultural project, rather than being a project that works particularly with any one group. Okay, about skills development and getting people involved in projects so that in the process they're dealing with those issues.
That's brilliant. What kind of events and projects are going on at the moment for Yumi?
Right, well, our kind of landmark event has been our summer festival, which is a 2-day festival in Parliament Street, usually in July. And that's all around representing York's ethnic diversity. So we train people who are not cooks, who love cooking but aren't cooks, not professional cooks, to serve food from their home cultures. So there might be 15 different ethnic groups represented there, and they've all learned the skills and the business skills and the presentation skills and done training in health and hygiene. We do children's activities and family activities and music and things. So that's our kind of landmark event that we've become known for. We've also done partner projects with Benembra Hall on representing cultural identity through your own culture. We've done 2 projects with them. We're doing a quilt, a big community quilt with the Quilt Museum at the moment. And our latest project is, it's our first year-round project. We've just set up an intercultural community garden down in Fishergate. So we're now growing foods from around the world and seeing what we can grow.
In York,
In York. And it's amazing what you can grow, actually. So that's just getting going now. And we're really excited because now we can feed the festival, partly. We can, the idea is to have celebrations and gatherings and get-togethers and work with teenagers and lots of different community groups there as well.
I was going to ask you about the age span of the members of your network.
Of our network, yeah. Gosh.
Is it quite a broad span?
Very broad. I mean, there's quite a few families involved, but it's every age group. And we've probably worked now with people from about 40 ethnic groups who are all local people.
That's great. And would you say beyond just developing skills and taking part in these projects, there's opportunities for these people who may otherwise have been isolated to sort of meet people of similar interests or similar backgrounds. It brings them together, and it's the only thing I can think of that would bring them together.
And similar backgrounds and very different backgrounds, and that's part of the idea, is that it's meeting the difference.
Yes.
So you're not, if you are from a culture where there are very few people from your home culture with you in York, you're not going to meet many other people who have similar backgrounds. So you're going to meet people who actually live their lives very differently from you, and that's part of the kind of underlying thing as well, is that there's something very strongly educational about this for young children, because children are being brought up in York without a sense of a huge difference and diversity, because they're not meeting that diversity. So our projects are linking in with young people, and we want to develop more programs with schools and with teenagers, so that these children and young people have a sense of difference and diversity in York.
So is it the case then that not everybody in the network is necessarily from an ethnic minority? Or
some of the people obviously are, but there are people who are interested in the project and want to support the project, want to hear about the events. And
what forms of media do you currently use to keep in touch with the members of your network? Do you have a website? Do you email them?
Yeah, we've got we use the email. We've had a website for the last about 3 years. That's now being revamped, and instead of it being an old school one, which was rather static, the new one's going to be much more interactive. So we'll have Twitter, we'll have a community hub where people can post in events. We can use a much more varied media approach, and we've got Facebook as well. And we'll be creating new groups as new projects come up for Facebook.
That's great. And bearing that in mind as well, in a month or so, all the equipment that you can see in front of you today is going to be available at York Central Library. Do you think it's something that your group might use in the future to promote events, to attract new volunteers?
I think if people know that resource is there, we could get together a group of people who would love to work with this stuff, because we've got a year-round project now for one. We're working with training volunteers over a period of time, so that they can take on the management of the festival, or aspects of our festival, and our cooks programs, so that actually just thinking of those 3 projects alone, there are areas that we could definitely be using all this media.
It's going to be a brilliant opportunity for the people of York. I'll just finally ask you, have you sort of found it beneficial coming along today, and do you think these kind of events are important for community groups?
One is meeting up with people that I don't regularly see, so there's a networking thing. But it's also about seeing what groups are there available for us, and being able to get information. I mean, I've come away with a stack of information. Actually also having this, because this is a publicity for us as well. So in lots of ways it's been useful.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, thanks.